Hello and welcome to IMC Radio and Podcast.
Great to be here.
Today we're going to explore the top news headlines for April 17th.
Yes, quite a range of stories from around the globe today.
Indeed. Let's start in South Africa. There's been a rescue operation for an American pastor, Josh Sullivan.
That's right. He was abducted at gunpoint last week during a prayer service in Cape Verde. Thankfully, he was rescued.
But the rescue wasn't without incident, was it?
No, unfortunately not. 3 suspected kidnappers were killed in a shootout with police during the operation on Tuesday evening.
And Pastor Sullivan himself.
He was found unharmed, physically at least, in a township there. It seems the kidnappers had made a ransom demand, though the amount hasn't been specified.
So this wasn't random. The reports say the kidnappers even knew his name.
Exactly. South Africa's elite police unit, the Hawks, acted on intelligence. When they moved in, the suspects tried to flee and, well, opened fire.
His family was present when he was taken.
Yes, a spokesperson mentioned his wife and children were at the church. He describes himself as a church-planting missionary, a very frightening situation.
Truly. Okay, let's move over to Nigeria. Concerns there about Boko Haram.
Yes, the Borno state government is raising alarms about foreign terrorist elements joining Boko Haram's ranks.
Foreign elements? From where?
The Commissioner for Information, Usman Tar, mentioned militants specifically from neighboring countries like Mali and Burkina Faso.
That sounds like a major security challenge.
It is. Tar acknowledged it's really a federal matter and security agencies are working on border security, but he described the borders in Africa as, porous.
Allowing easy movement for these groups.
Precisely. Bandits, terrorists, moving undetected. Governor Zulum had previously warned about worsening security, citing recent attacks and even the dislodgement of military posts.
He sounds quite frustrated.
The report suggests he condemned the daily attacks and kidnappings, feeling there wasn't enough serious confrontation from security forces. It's a tough situation.
Let's shift to some better news from Cape Verde.
Yes, the 6 Nigerian women detained there have been freed.
They were held on false human trafficking allegations, is that right?
That's the report. They were apparently just on holiday and got wrongfully arrested.
So how were they released?
It seems diplomatic efforts were key. The Nigerian mission in Guinea-Bissau engaged with Cape Verdean authorities, and thankfully it led to their release and departure on Wednesday.
Good to hear a positive outcome there. Now let's turn to the U.S. and China trade situation. Tensions seem high again.
Yes, China is pushing back against what it calls threats and blackmail from the U.S. over the ongoing trade war.
This follows President Trump stating it's essentially up to Beijing to negotiate an end to it.
Correct. And remember, Trump has imposed tariffs, pretty high ones, up to 145% on many Chinese imports. China, in turn, has retaliated with duties up to 125% on U.S. goods.
So what's China's stance now?
Their foreign ministry spokesman, Lin Jin, basically said the U.S. needs to talk based on equality and mutual benefit. He added that China doesn't want a trade war, but isn't afraid to fight one.
The tariffs are really adding up then.
Beijing's Commerce Ministry noted that cumulative tariffs on some exports to the U.S. have hit 245%. It started over fentanyl supply chains, then broadened due to trade practices.
Have there been any exceptions?
Some temporary reprieves for certain tech products, yes, but the White House position seems to remain that the ball is in China's court.
How's China's economy holding up under this?
Surprisingly resilient, actually. It grew 5.4% in the first quarter. However, analysts are watching closely, predicting these April tariff hikes will likely impact the second quarter figures.
And other countries are watching too?
Definitely. Japan and South Korea have expressed concerns and planned talks with the U.S. Plus, Trump has ordered a probe that could lead to tariffs on critical minerals as well.
Sticking with the U.S., there's a significant legal development involving the Trump administration and a federal judge.
Yes, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg is threatening administration officials with criminal contempt. It's quite serious.
What's this about?
It concerns his previous order from March 15th, which stopped the deportation of alleged Venezuelan gang members to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act.
And the administration didn't comply.
The judge believes the government showed willful disregard for his ruling. Lawyers for those deported argue they aren't gang members and didn't get a chance to challenge the claims.
What happens now?
Well, the Justice Department has appealed, but Judge Boasberg has given the administration until April 23rd to explain how they're complying, or else identify the officials who ignored the order for potential prosecution.
Wow. He seems very determined.
He even mentioned a tweet from El Salvador's President Bukele, which was shared by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, that seemed to mock the order, suggesting deliberate defiance. Something like, oopsie, too late.
And the administration's response?
The White House communications director said they would appeal, and a Justice Department spokesperson called the judge's actions a power grab. It's becoming quite confrontational.
Are there other similar cases?
Yes. Another judge in Maryland, Paula Sheenis, is looking into a simile deportation case, and Boasberg could demand sworn statements or even appoint a prosecutor if he's not satisfied.
What's the significance of using the Alien Enemies Act here?
It's an old law, historically used during World War II, even against U.S. citizens of enemy nations then. Applying it now in this context is controversial. Professor Jonathan Heffetz called the ruling a strong rebuke.
And President Trump's reaction?
He has apparently called for Judge Boasberg's impeachment. Meanwhile, lawyers say they've lost contact with the migrants who were deported. A difficult situation all around.
Okay, let's switch continents again. An arrest in India involving a Nigerian national.
Yes, reports say a Nigerian man, Adolphus Uche Uno, living in Navi Mumbai, was arrested for allegedly defrauding a businesswoman.
How did the alleged fraud work?
It seems he contacted the victim via email back in January, proposing a supposed chemical business opportunity in the UK.
And she sent money.
She transferred about Rs 3.05 lakh, which is roughly $6.5 million, to a bank account he provided. After that, communication stopped. Police traced and arrested him.
A reminder to be cautious online.
Absolutely. Police are warning the public again about these kinds of unsolicited business proposals.
Now, some business news from the consulting world. PwC is making changes in Africa.
That's right. They're exiting 9 sub-Saharan African countries as part of a strategic review.
Which countries are affected?
Ivory Coast, Gabon, Cameroon, Madagascar, Senegal, the DRC, Republic of Congo, Republic of Guinea, and Equatorial Guinea.
Why the change?
PwC states they're focusing on key growth markets, although reports suggest revenues dropped in some of these exiting markets after directives to cut ties with high-risk clients. They're also facing some reputational issues elsewhere, like Saudi Arabia.
But they're staying in some major African economies.
Yes, they emphasize they remain confident in the continent's long-term potential and will continue operations in Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa.
Okay. Back to Nigeria, specifically Ekiti State. A story about a new building already having problems.
Yes, quite embarrassing, really. A nursing hostel, built at a cost of $800 million and only inaugurated last October, is reportedly leaking badly during rainfall.
Leaking just 6 months after opening.
Exactly. There's video evidence showing rainwater seeping into rooms, damaging students' belongings.
And weren't there issues with the fees for this hostel earlier?
There were. Parents protested the $230,000 per student fee, feeling the quality didn't justify the cost even then. Now, this seems to validate some of those concerns.
How was this project initially presented?
It was a public-private partnership, and Governor Oyebanji had hailed it as a model project, demonstrating commitment to infrastructure and providing a conducive environment for learning. This looks quite different now.
There was also a student protest mentioned.
Yes, a student named Salua Oluwaseun Vincent was reportedly suspended earlier for protesting hiked fees and alleged victimization. This adds another layer to the situation.
Right. Now, another report concerning U.S. foreign policy under President Trump. Potential embassy closures.
Yes, a CNN report citing an internal State Department document suggests the administration might be considering closing nearly 30 U.S. embassies and consulates globally.
And several of those could be in Africa.
The report mentioned potential closures in the Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, Lesotho, and South Sudan. A U.S. consulate in South Africa was also reportedly on the list.
What's the reasoning behind this?
It seems to be part of a larger effort, possibly influenced by the Department of Government Efficiency, aimed at reducing the size and spending of federal agencies. The document apparently also suggests reducing U.S. presence in Somalia and Iraq.
Has this been confirmed?
No official confirmation yet. The State Department declined to comment on the report, so it's still speculative at this stage.
Okay, one final story, and it's a serious allegation coming out of Katsina State in Nigeria.
Very serious. The commander of the Katsina Watch Corps, Major A. Ibrahim, retired, has accused some Nigerian soldiers of, well, some deeply troubling activities.
Which is?
He alleges they've been involved in supplying arms to bandits, extorting farmers, and even aiding ransom payments.
What prompted these accusations?
It followed the arrest of a man named Malam Hafizu in Sabua, LGA, who was found with ammunition. Hafizu allegedly confessed that a soldier named Ide supplied it.
Are these isolated claims?
Major Ibrahim says communities, especially in the Funchal area, have been complaining for some time about soldiers allegedly collaborating with bandits to extort locals and facilitate ransom.
You provided specifics.
He described dire conditions in one community, Nabi, where farmers are allegedly forced to pay levies multiple times, sometimes even having their harvested crops taken by soldiers.
What's the Watch Corps demanding?
Major Ibrahim stated clearly that the Corps demands an end to these abuses and wants trust restored between the military and the communities they're supposed to protect. These are very strong allegations.
Indeed. So wrapping up today's headlines, we've covered the rescue in South Africa, concerns over foreign fighters with Boko Haram, the release of Nigerian women in Cape Verde.
The ongoing U.S.-China trade friction, that significant legal challenge over deportations in the U.S., the fraud arrest in India, PwC's strategic shift in Africa.
The unfortunate issues with the new Ekiti hostel, potential U.S. embassy closures, and these very serious allegations against soldiers in Katsina.
It certainly paints a complex picture of global events. As always, reporting these requires a commitment to uncovering the truth and seeking justice where needed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to today's top news headlines on IAMC Radio and Podcast.